Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Ask Jeff Almost Anything 30,000 subscriber celebration here on YouTube. Thank you all so much for being here, for liking the channel, for subscribing to the channel, for liking videos, making your comments, asking questions, and just sharing your stories about Qigong. I'm so grateful, so happy, so excited every day just to see this community of Qigong practitioners grow all around from all around the world. It's absolutely amazing. And so today in this video, I'm going to open it up to some questions, commonly asked questions that people ask on YouTube and Facebook and messages. And I've also submitted a form where you can answer or ask questions that I can hopefully answer. So if you have any questions related to Qigong or to almost anything, then feel free to ask in the chat section on the right side, and I'll go through them. So I'll answer a couple of questions, and then I'll finish up with a little story of sort of inspiration where we can learn this Qigong lesson from trees. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Jeff. I'm an acupuncturist, practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine, and Qigong instructor. I've been making videos on YouTube now for probably about 4 years or so, and started off a little bit slowly, just one or two, but then in the last probably about 2 years or so, really started making more. And we also have the community. So the community, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but this is an online library of videos that are not on YouTube, and these are very focused on full Qigong practices. But I always want to make sure that I'm making Qigong as accessible to everybody as possible. So there's lots of content on YouTube, there's lots on Facebook. We're trying to figure out, should we focus on Facebook or YouTube? But we're trying to put a lot of content out there because if a person needs help or if they're interested in Qigong, I want it to be as easy as possible. So that's a little bit of my story, but I'm just going to check in the comment section every now and then, and I can see that I asked a simple question of what was your last meal, because it gives me sometimes a little idea of where you're watching from. And yeah, so we've got lots of people from all over the place, and I have a few questions that have been submitted, and so I'll slowly kind of go through them. And one of the questions about Qigong practice is, it's come up several times, is how do you breathe? Should you breathe into the nose and out through the mouth, or into the nose, out through the nose? How should we breathe? So when beginning Qigong practice, it's always good to start very naturally and simply. I think it's good to begin in that way and to continue in that way. And after years and years, I think it's still good to practice in a very simple way. So when you first start breathing, if you just came home from a busy day and you're all wound up, it's good to actually breathe into the nose and breathe forcefully out through the mouth. So into the nose and out through the mouth. But as you start calming down, your body starts unwinding, your mind starts calming down, your muscles start relaxing. Then you can just breathe into the nose and out through the nose. So that's going to be naturally how you find yourself breathing. So sometimes a comment was made that, are you supposed to purse your lips? Because sometimes in the videos I do that. And the reason I do that in the videos and when I'm teaching classes is to give a visual reminder to be breathing. So in reality, I'm not practicing by pursing my lips, but so it's just a visual cue to just remind you to breathe. And so you don't have to create any tension. In fact, tension anywhere is going to stop the chi of flow, stop the flow of chi. So we want to relax everything. Now, having said that, there are some techniques where we restrict the breath. So we're breathing out and we're holding the breath back, causing a little bit of pressure in the mouth, but that's different. In general, just breathe into the nose, out to the mouth at first, and then as your body and mind starts calming down, then into the nose, out to the nose. There's something it's a little bit of a rare technique. It's called turtle breathing. You don't hear about it very often, but it's a very, very, very slow breath. So you're breathing into the nose, and you might be exhaling for 1 or 2 minutes even. So you have to have a very, very relaxed body in order to do this. So you definitely are breathing out the nose in that case. All right, so that is a little bit about breathing. Now, a couple of questions, I'll try to go through them, that that were submitted was somebody asking about, I'm just reading it here, about H. pylori. So somebody had suffered with H. pylori 3 years ago, and eventually they managed to eradicate it predominantly by diet. But I still suffer with a large distended stomach. I eat very well. Do you think Qigong can help me? Thank you very much. So H. pylori is usually associated with like ulcers and a lot of stomach bloating, a lot of acid reflux, a lot of discomfort and sensitivity to foods. So even if a person treats it medically or through diet or natural methods, then quite often people are still left with, as this lady had mentioned, with some distension in the stomach. Distension meaning big fullness and bloating. So in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, and Qigong, the idea is that every single organ is attached to a certain element and they all kind of work together. So the stomach and spleen work together, and they are part of the earth element. So when we have any kind of issues with digestion, distension in the belly, weak appetite, excessive appetite, we eat something that we feel full right away, we feel very sensitive to all different foods, then it's usually a sign that we need to work on our earth element. So there are plenty of practices that do that. In the community, we have several earth element practices, and ones for digestion. But even just basic Dan Tian breathing is going to be helpful for the stomach as well. If you don't want to overstimulate the stomach, I don't know if you can see here, but you can do massage on the stomach. But sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't want to even touch my stomach. Then the Dan Tian breathing is going to be actually quite helpful for this. So, which leads me to my next question is, what is the Dantian? Where is the Dantian? So, if you've been involved with Tai Chi or Qigong or meditation or yoga, you'll hear this term Dantian. Dantian means lower heaven or lower elixir field. So it's an area just about 3 inches below the belly button in the center of the body. So I say about because it's different for everybody. Some people's dantian is just a little bit lower and some are a little bit higher. But it's basically like the center of the body. So when you are beginning Qigong practice and actually throughout your entire Qigong journey, the idea is we want to build up that dantian energy. We want to build up the qi in the dantian. So if you have a strong dantian, then you can be healthy and vibrant and happy. If you have a weak dantian, then it's a lot harder to actually feel well. It's harder for your body to function normally. So when I see people in my my acupuncture practice, that's one of the first things to try to assess: how much root energy does a person have? If they have a lot of energy, a lot of root energy, that's easy. Treating them is easy. They respond very well to everything. But if the root energy is very weak, the Dantian energy is weak, then it's going to take a lot more time, a lot more different treatments, different herbs, different supplements, a lot more intervention. So strong Dantian will make everything work better. So we can do that by just simply breathing into the Dantian. The last video that came up, I don't know if you saw it yet, went up just about two days ago on YouTube, was a simple opening exercise. That's a really easy way to build up the Dantian energy. So you can try that. All right, so I'm just going to go through the chat section here and see somebody from Romania and Bella Kula, and Minneapolis. Wonderful. And then the question here, can you talk about most beneficial durations for practice? That's a good question. Minutes per day, days per week. That was another question that was submitted. So how long should you practice for? The best is to practice for 2 hours twice a day. No, that's not the right answer. So the long practices don't make for effective Qigong. So when we're thinking about Qigong practice, we want it to be first in this approach, we first want it to be effective. So we want to get a desired benefit out of it. So whether that's pain reduction, increased energy, reduced stress, reduced anxiety, better sleep, we want to get some sort of result from it. So in order to get the desired effect, we have to look at all these different things. How long we were practicing, how intense we're practicing, which meridians and organs are we stimulating. And so if you remember, if you're a student or if you've studied or if you remember studying, you'll know that there's this kind of this window where you practice or you can study for a while. You're doing really well. You can concentrate, and after a while, you start drifting off and losing focus and concentration. Now, for most people, it's only about 20 minutes. We can maintain our attention for about 20 minutes, and then we start drifting. So it's actually the same thing with Qigong practice and meditation as well. So this is not based on a traditional approach. This is actually based on MRI studies. When monks and high-level meditators are meditating under MRI, you can see the brain is active and all these things are happening. The fear center and the amygdala is slowing down. There's more circulation to the frontal cortex. All these amazing things are happening, but they start dwindling after about 15 to 20 minutes or so. Usually with the highly experienced meditators, it does come back. They can ride this wave, but uh, it doesn't maintain itself the entire practice. So that's why there are a lot of practices in the community that are 15 to 20 minutes. So most people are likely to watch or to practice a 20-minute routine every day compared to an hour and a half routine. Maybe that might happen 2 or 3 times a week. So when I made the very first video, Qigong video years ago, at the time I had recorded a whole bunch of different sitcoms like Seinfeld and things like that. And so I took out the commercials and took out the beginning and end and tried to figure out how long is that. And it was actually about 18 minutes for most sitcoms. I don't know what it is right today, but I figured if a person can watch a rerun of a sitcom, then they can have time to practice Qigong. So, and I also saw in classes too that there was this peak time of 18 minutes or so, and that's how long people can maintain their focus. So, a very long answer to a short question is 18 to 20 minutes. Trying to do that every day, I think is where you're going to get the best result. If you try to practice long periods of time and you can do that, that's great. That's better. Probably you'll get results faster, but it's not necessary. If you can do just 15, 20 minutes, even sometimes I say just do 5 minutes, that's fine. You'll still get a benefit every day though. Try to make a habit. So first thing, wake up in the morning, practice, or maybe when you get home from work, practice, or when you have some quiet time after dinner, practice, or before bed. But the same time every day, create a habit. You'll get the best effect from that. Okay. Next, I saw next question up here, somewhere up here. Beneficial times. Hello from the Netherlands. Hello, Atlanta, Georgia. And somebody had a spinach mushroom burrito. When and where did you learn Qigong? Me. So I learned several years ago, and probably over 25 years ago or so, and been practicing different forms since. And I learned from various teachers all over Canada. And but the main area that I learned is when I lived in Taiwan. That was a big reason why I had moved there to study traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and also work with people who were not just did Qigong on the side. This is what they did. This is what their whole life was. And so I was able to study with some excellent, amazing teachers and learn so much from them. And in a sense, even though I haven't, many of them have passed away and I've lost contact with them, I feel like they're still teaching me now. And I don't mean that they're coming through the ether, but I feel like, oh, that's what they meant back then. They were some teachers were just so incredibly wise and insightful and astute with their instructions that still learn from it now. And these are all the things I try to pass along to everyone here on YouTube and in the community. So and for myself, I was quite, I know I said 15 to 20 minutes practice is ideal, but I was practicing probably about 90 minutes, 2 hours every single day, starting at about 5 in the morning in the public parks. And it was quite the exposure of learning firsthand. Okay. And all right. Hello from Ohio. Last meal was salad. Very good. From Kenya. What level of chi cultivation have you reached? Okay, so that's an interesting question because this is not, I don't think this is what was being asked, but the question might be, am I enlightened? Am I something, something like that? And No, I'm not. I'm just a normal person, and in terms of chi cultivation, like there are definitely uh, some some uh, some skills that have been acquired, but there's also things that I need to work on. We all need to work on. The level of chi cultivation never stops. It's like a plant. Like, when does a plant stop growing? It kind of never does. And so in the same way, cultivation is like that. And I really like the word cultivation. It's not just accumulation, like I'm going to gather all this chi into the body and then I'm going to have it forever. It's not like that. It's about cultivating, just like planting a garden and tending to the garden. We're cultivating it. We're trying to nurture it so it grows better. And we're trying to get rid of some of the weeds, and we're trying to water it. Oh, now we're dealing with a drought. So now we have to try to figure out a strategy around that. So that's cultivation, and that's what we're doing with our chi as well. All right. So hello from Brazil and New Mexico. Wow, wonderful. Um, okay, and looking for some questions here. Dan Tian. Oh yeah, okay. A question about Dan Tian. When putting my hands over Dan Tian or any part of the body, sometimes people hear left or right, right over left. Which should it be? In general, I don't actually think it matters. Uh, it, in acupuncture, it's the same thing. You're supposed to do certain points on the left side on the body or on the right side on the body for men and female. But in reality, I have not seen that it makes a significant difference. So I think naturally you'll put your hands over your body in one way, and that's going to be the way that's right for you. And sometimes you put it the opposite way, and it just kind of feels wrong. It's kind of like trying to write with your opposite hand. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. And from Finland, wonderful. Are there any specific movements to reduce menopause and night sweats? Yes. So in terms of specific movements, there's not a night sweat menopause movement, but what we're working on when there's menopause, or for men, there's menopause. What we're working on is the kidney and the liver yin system, to work on the kidneys and the liver. So that's the wood element and the water element. So that often responds well to standing postures, as opposed to some deeper, more invigorating postures. The standing still horse stance posture, that is actually very helpful for the yin aspect of the kidneys and the liver. So, and we do have, I do believe we have a few just standing horse stance practices on YouTube, but definitely in the community and in the full routines, we almost always end with a little bit of horse stance. Okay. And okay, I lost my place here, but let me jump back into some of the other submitted questions. So there was another question that was, okay, a very common question here is, do I teachers offer Qigong certification? So short answer is no, I don't. And so just a little bit of background or sort of philosophy here is that when you're learning something in person, there's one way that you're learning. So when you're learning something online, that's another way of learning. And so what I've been trying to understand is, I know how to teach in person and trying to figure out how to teach online, but when it comes to teacher training, it's very difficult because there's so many subtle elements, and it's hard to get that across in a video. In a lot of cases, when I've had very good teachers, they come in, they make little tiny corrections. They just adjust the shoulder, or adjust your posture, or adjust your eyes, or something like that, and it's very difficult to teach how to do those modifications and adjustments. So in short, I haven't figured out how to teach sort of this method online. But the next question is where to go. And I would highly recommend, if you can find a in-person class to learn Qigong, to learn to teach Qigong, I would highly recommend that, as opposed to trying to, well, there are probably some good online resources, but I'm just not familiar with them. But if you can, in your city and in your area, just try to work with somebody who can teach you. I wish I could, I wish I could feel like I can offer something better, but I just don't know how to get across some of the subtleties of teaching. And part of it is even just knowing when somebody should not be doing a movement. So There's a question that's come up also about back pain, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the one common reasons why people practice Qigong is for back pain. And so, because of my clinical experience, when somebody comes in, I can run some tests, I can get them to move, I can poke and prod them, and I can tell, okay, the back pain is due to tension, or it's due to this particular muscle weakness, or it's because of this injury or that, or it's because of kidney Qi deficiency. But you can figure that out in person. But when somebody says, I have back pain, there's no way to know what the root reason is. And so the other issue that comes up too is that there are some very small cases where, okay, this is a type of pain that there's something else wrong. There's something serious wrong here. And in person, you could see that, but online you can't. So this is a challenge that I'm currently trying to work through. I shouldn't be this is a bigger topic, but I'm really trying to figure out how that is. But there's some cases where we should learn online. We can learn online very effectively, and some things that it's better to try to find someone in person. So while I'm on that topic of back pain, yes, so back pain can respond really well to Qigong practice. But if you can, it's good to go see somebody who specializes in back pain, someone like a physiotherapist, a physical therapist. If your family doctor is good at that, a massage therapist, chiropractor, so they can tell you exactly what's wrong. They can say, this is the weak muscle you have. This one right here, they point at it. Or they can say, oh, no, it's because of this issue. So that way you can have very specific exercises that help your particular experience of back pain. And then you can use Qigong to help assist that. There's a Canadian renovation expert. I don't know if he's still around, Mike Holmes, and he would go and look at people's houses and see the mess that they make, and he would go and fix it properly. And he would always talk about having the right tool for the job. And it's true, like you can use a hammer to do everything, like put in nails and tear down things, but you can also use it for things that it's not quite appropriate, like putting in screws. Yeah, it kind of works, but it's not the right tool. So the idea is to get the right tool for the job. So when it comes to pain, just always think physical therapy. What can I do that's going to be highly specific to this condition? And then use Qigong to accentuate what you're already doing. Okay. All right. Back into the chat section here. All right. Where was I here? Okay. How long to replenish the depleted Dantian? This is a terrible answer, but as long as it takes. If you can practice Dantian breathing or building or practicing Qigong every day, then it could take a month. It could take 6 months. It could take a year. It could take 2 weeks. But I think being attached to the outcome can lead us to disappointment, but being connected to the process of letting the Qi build, letting it grow, noticing little improvements, and that's going to be much better to say like, yeah, I think it feels a little bit better than yesterday. And we're so goal oriented in modern day society that it's hard to kind of take a step back and just say, I'm just going to put in the time, put in the work. I was speaking to a person who's a pilot, that was a plane, and they were saying that you have to put in your flight time. So you have to get those hours behind the steering wheel, or the plane steering wheel. That's your flight time. You have to put in those hours. So same thing with Qigong practice. Just put in the time. Eventually your body will learn, will build up that energy. Okay, I can only manage a short practice of 10 to 15 minutes. Is this any benefit? Absolutely. Thank you for the nice comments. Do you have any suggestion for someone who is struggling with eating disorders? So eating disorders are one of these conditions that there are multiple things that are happening, and there's some excellent resources out there that can help support the something specific to that. But Qigong is definitely going to be helpful because it helps create that calm state. Now, this is again a bigger topic. We cover some of these topics in the community where we do something similar to this, like a live, we call it a Qi Chat once a month, where we go a little bit deeper into topics. But very quickly, there's an approach to eating disorders that can be therapeutic, that can indicate that eating disorders are triggered by stress. So we manage stress, then we can manage the eating disorder. Now, there's also another approach that is saying that stress is not the issue. It's a habit. Eating disorders are habitual response, something that we've reinforced over and over. And so the reason that's worth looking at is because sometimes people will get rid of all the stressors in their life, or they spend a long time trying to deal with past stressors or current or future stressors. And so they deal with it, but yet they still have the eating disorder. And in some cases, people can work on habit, creating new habits, creating positive habits, positive new reinforced routines. And yet they still have the stress, but they can actually overcome eating disorders. So this can, and I say this very gently, that you have to work with somebody if you have a diagnosed condition. But consider that. Is stress the major trigger, or is habit the major trigger? And then move forward from there. But there's never going to be any downside to finding that peaceful, calm state, that kind of relaxation, vacation mode. That's always going to help any kind of disordered behavior, whether it's related to eating or whether it's something habitual like hand washing or needing to anything. It's going to be helpful to be in that calm state. Okay. What do I think of the keto diet? Does it affect qi when using fat as an energy source instead of carbohydrates? The keto diet has become very, very popular in the last little while. And so in terms of any kind of diet affecting the qi, there is sort of an effect, but the effect is not so direct. So the effect is related to how hard is the stomach, spleen, and we were talking about the earth element. How hard does the earth element have to work? If you can eat a meal and you feel like, oh, I feel pleasantly satisfied, you feel happy, you feel good, you don't feel bloated, you don't feel like you ate too much, then that's actually going to preserve your earth energy. And that's going to be very good for your overall health. But if you eat something and it feels like you just ate a brick or something, then it feels like just sitting there and it's heavy, then no matter what the diet is, it's going to take away the qi from the spleen and the stomach. So for some people, when they're on the keto diet, they feel very good. They feel very light and very empty in their body. That's great. And other people, they feel terrible. They feel very heavy and blocked, literally. And but that can be the same for a high fiber, low fat, high fiber type of diet. Some people feel fantastic. They feel like everything moves through them easily, and other people feel like, oh, that's too much fiber. Their body can't handle it. So so it's good to kind of think about, how do I feel when I consume this? Do I feel empty? Do I feel like my earth energy is being preserved? Or do I feel as if, do I feel heavy and bogged down? So I just saw a little message here. So how do you feel? Okay. Okay. So some nice comments. Thank you. And okay, here's a very tricky question. Is there evidence for Qigong for cancer prevention? Short answer is, I don't know. That's the best answer I can give you. Often we hear something like tennis elbow. That's one thing. We hear like a psoriasis on the right side of the face. That's one thing. But cancer is not one thing. Cancer is so many different things. Skin cancer is different than lung cancer. Radiation exposure is different than something related to genetics. So cancer is not just one word, and it's just not one diagnosis. And so it's very difficult to say this one thing helps with all of these. To me, I would never suggest, hey, just practice this. This will cure anything. I always suggest that things will help. When it comes to, okay, I have a diagnosis for cancer, and is this going to cure it? There's no way to answer that question. And I would love to say, yes, this is the magic formula, but I just can't. But I do know. And the question was related to, does it help with prevention? I do know that maintaining good circulation throughout your body, maintaining your stress levels, having a clear mind, having good quality sleep, all these factors help prevention of any long-term disease, any long-term genetic condition. And so we also have conditions that we have something that's called gene activation. It used to be thought that okay, if you have the gene for something, you're going to get it. You're cursed, and you're only going to be defined by your genes. But history has shown now, in the last probably about 20 years or so, that we're not just tied to our genes. So we could have the genes there for some particular condition, but they have to be turned on. And so that's what they call gene activation. So one of the biggest factors that turns on these genes and these issues of degenerative conditions is stress. So stress can be environmental, it could be pollution, it could be, of course, mental emotional stress. It could be something from a severe physical trauma, like a car accident or an accident or a severe surgery. And this could cause gene activation. So the more we can kind of stay in this peaceful, calm zone and be able to be flexible, the more likely we are to avoid any kind of gene activation. And just, yeah, it's fine that we have those genes there, but they don't need to turn on. So that's a. But I feel very very cautious about being able to understand or being able to make broad statements about cancer. And this applies to Western medicine, Chinese medicine, alternative medicine, integrative medicine. We just have to look at every case individually. Okay, Jack Carr, stress is my habit. Okay, well, you're very aware of your habit. Okay, is there any evidence that Qigong could cause cancer? That is something I don't know. I would think not. Okay, how to keep qi in one's body when it starts to project out. Okay, this gets into a little bit more of the esoteric side of qigong practice, projecting qi and more of like external qigong. So in general, that's not something that in this channel and in the community I focus on. It's usually more about keeping the qi in the body, building it up, letting it flow, letting it circulate, letting it flow through the meridians, and just getting that good flow of qi throughout the body. So that's more of the focus of this style of qigong. So I would probably encourage you to explore some of the more esoteric forms of qigong that directly work with those kind of aspects. Okay, and can you talk about yin-yang balance in qigong practice in terms of internal, external, soft, hard, negative, and positive? That's definitely a big topic. So in short, so yeah, Qigong is based on the concepts of traditional Chinese medicine, which is based on several different theories. Yin-Yang concept is one of them. The 5 elements is another. The meridians and collaterals theory is another. Zhang Fu theory is another. So there's all these different theories. So when we're practicing Qigong, the first thing, as I mentioned earlier on, is trying to make it effective. We want to get some sort of result out of it. Better energy, better sleep, less anxiety, better circulation, less pain, as I mentioned earlier. So when we start thinking about, is this my yin energy, my yang energy? Am I too hot, too cold, too damp, too dry? Now we're starting getting into a little bit of the more logistical, cerebral approach to Qigong. Now that's fine if you're interested in that, but I would encourage you to not let that distract you from the key element of a good, effective Qigong practice, which is achieving that state of flow. So that's when you're in the zone where you feel like you feel timeless. You feel like your body's moving so gracefully, and you feel like your body and your breath are coordinated as one. You feel kind of harmonized with the environment around you. So that sensation of flow during a Qigong practice, whether you do it with a simple practice, a complicated one, a short one, a long one, it doesn't really matter. Just try to achieve that flow, and that's going to have more benefit than trying to understand how do I work on my yin energy versus my yang energy, or this organ versus that one. So just flow state. And this is something that I've noticed also with people who are very knowledgeable about all the different types of qigong practices and traditional Chinese medicine, is that it's very easy to get tied up into let's see, this practice focuses more on this aspect, and that's better than that. No, it's actually just better just to practice, just to get in that flow state, and become very efficient at achieving the flow state anytime that you want. It's great if you're on vacation on a nice, sunny, warm beach to be able to get in that flow state. But if you're driving and somebody just cut you off and you feel really upset about that and you come home, how easily can you get into the flow state then? Being able to build that skill of getting to the state, that's going to be that's going to be very, very beneficial. Okay, I just saw a quick question here about yoga. Can you do qigong with yoga? Absolutely. Qigong and yoga work very well together. It depends on what type of yoga it is. There's just like qigong. There's different focuses for yoga. And I think the main thing is, again, listen to your body and feel what you feel. And if you try one form of yoga and qigong together and you feel like, whoa, okay, I feel really energized, maybe a little bit too energized, maybe you have to adjust the style. If you feel like, oh, I'm ready for bed, then you might find what's working for you. So I always talk about finding your own formula. And so this is going to be the combination of your diet, your exercise, your sleep, your habits in your life, how much time you spend working, how much time you spend with people, how much time you spend alone. All these things create your formula. And so qigong and yoga together, this can make this is part of your formula. Okay, so yes, I just noticing the time here, and I can't believe how much time has kind of gotten away here on anything or here, but that's wonderful. Thank you so much all for being so participatory here. I just want to quickly go through a couple questions here that came through the response, because I appreciate people responding here. Can qigong help with tinnitus? We have actually a program just dedicated to tinnitus and the issues that come up with it, and looking at the Western approach to tinnitus, and which is ringing in the ears, and also an integrative approach and a Chinese medicine approach. And so I think combining acupressure with qigong practice is actually very helpful for tinnitus. But tinnitus is one of the most challenging conditions to treat from a medical point of view, but also from an alternative point of view. The two conditions are very difficult to treat are tinnitus when it's been there for a long, long time, and I'm talking like 15, 20 years, and rheumatoid arthritis when there's been deformation of the joints. In any modality, it's challenging to treat. So you never really know how effective they're going to be, but it's always worth trying. Give it a try. Nothing generally is bad going to happen. Okay. And tinnitus, and oh yes, and the question was also like tinnitus and the anxiety that comes with it. That's part of the issue with some of these kind of conditions, like the ringing in the ears, that just causes anxiety, where we wake up in the morning and think, how's it going to be today? So qigong can definitely help with that. Okay, Sue from NB. Now, as a Canadian, I thought that meant New Brunswick, but that could be Nebraska. And she just said, no questions. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your videos. Well, thank you, Sue, and I appreciate your comment. And a big fan from Wyoming. Do you post qigong for knees, hips, and feet? There's lots of different practices for the knees and the lower body. And generally in the full qigong practices in the community, like they always include all parts of the body. So in horse dance is always very good. There's a movement called Dan Yu, which is almost like a squat, basically, and just being able to do that in a very controlled, gentle way where you're not causing any pain will help strengthen the body. Quite often with pain in the lower body, there's pain because of inflammation or maybe degeneration, but often it's because of weakness. So again, as I mentioned earlier on, just try to consult with someone who can say, okay, this is specifically what you need, and then use qigong to help accentuate what you're doing. Okay. I don't want to take up too much of your time here, your valuable Saturday. And can you suggest anything from qigong that will help with difficulty swallowing? So this is dysphagia. Difficulty swallowing becomes one of those conditions that is multifactorial, like where you just don't know what the root of it is. It could be muscular, it could be blockage, it could be reflux, it could be brain related. So most people, I'm sure they've explored this medically to make sure there's nothing significantly medically wrong, but there's just gentle acupressure that's around the throat that can be helpful, but also a lot of neck and chest opening exercises that are helpful. I'm just trying to scan. There's a practice on YouTube called the neck tension, Qigong for neck tension, and that's a good, very opening type of practice. And if we can get everything to relax and we strengthen what's called the Ren meridian, there's a conception vessel that goes up the center of the front of the body. When that gets stronger, then it usually can help the symptoms of dysphagia, but again, or difficulty swallowing. But again, it's difficult to say because everybody's a little bit different. But again, just try. In the community, we have a program called the 30 Days of Qigong. So these are 30 different routines over 30 days. And the idea is that we go through all these different aspects. So every single internal organ, every meridian, every system, every channel, collateral, and we try to stimulate them. And what often people will notice, like they'll go through the program and they'll say, oh, wow, I really resonate with this one routine. And it's because it's what they need. So I often talk about that idea as finding what resonates with you, because your body, your chi, your higher self, your internal wisdom, your subconscious mind is trying to help you, and it's trying to say, hey, this is what you need a little bit more of. So sometimes you can be eating something and you feel like, oh, I know this is good for me, but I don't feel like eating it. And then other times you'll eat the same thing and you feel like, this is what I need. This is what my body's calling out for. And so that's our body speaking to us. And so when you go through something like the 30 days of Qigong, you might feel like, yeah, this one exercise I really feel like I need to keep doing. And this is the best way to learn Qigong and to find a practice or your formula is to try different things and see what's resonating. Okay, and what else? Irene from Queensland, Australia. Question about kyphosis. Kyphosis is an extreme forward head posture. Now, thoracic kyphosis is something that was usually only seen with people maybe over the age of 65 or 70 or so, where there's that kind of like that big curve in the upper back. But now it's actually being seen in young people because of texting and being on the phone and having poor posture. So a lot of the opening type of exercises for the neck and for the muscles in the back of the upper back are great for helping to open up the chest, but we need to be conscious of posture. Now I know the question was asked on chronic kyphosis, and this is a little bit different because there could be osteoporosis and other factors. So again, consult with the physical therapist specialist, and then use Qigong to help accentuate what you're doing. Okay. And we'll just take through maybe a couple more questions here, and then sort of conclude here. Wow, I didn't realize there was going to be so many questions, and that's wonderful. That's great. Question about metabolism and Qigong, and that's actually not many people ask it, but I know it's a lot of people are wondering that quite often. How do I use Qigong to increase metabolism? But it's actually, I think what people are saying, how do I lose weight? And with Qigong. So the simple answer is that just like seeing a physical therapist specialist to give you specific advice for physical conditions, when we're thinking about weight loss, the thing that's going to help the most is going to be net calorie balance. So burning more calories than your body is consuming. Yeah, that's right. So calories in, calories out. That's going to be the biggest factor. Now, for women, there are often hormonal factors, and these hormones can make that calories in, calories out factor not work as effectively. But for most people, start with the calories in, calories out, and then start with that first, because many times people think they're doing a great job at their calorie balance, but they're not. And when they start tracking it and using something like MyFitnessPal or Lose It is an app that you can use to track all your calories. And quite often people see like, ooh, okay, I'm actually consuming about 400 calories more than I do. So start with the calories in, calories out. And then Qigong can help with the earth element. It can help with the liver and the kidneys because of hormone issues. But I I would just, take a step back and think and just, calm yourself and think, where's that I really need to focus? Is it more from a Qigong perspective, or is it more from cleaning up the diet or looking at activity levels? And when you look at, do I need to work out more or do I need to clean up my diet? By far, it's going to be diet first. Probably 70, 80% of the effect is going to be from diet. Exercise is always going to be helpful. It's great for health for many different things, but from weight loss point of view, it's heavily favored in the way of diet. But qigong practices that help with the spleen, the stomach, overall circulation, things that help you get a good deep sleep, those are going to also be very, very helpful. Okay. Okay. So how many did I say? Two more questions. And back health. Okay, I think we talked about that a little bit. Yes, qigong is great for helping support the back, and we need to have good, strong core muscles too. And yeah, and how to avoid tension in the shoulders and the back of the neck and the arms when practicing qigong. And I think even when horse stance, practicing in a way that we don't develop tension is largely a habit, and we have to keep telling ourselves, relax, relax, relax. If we especially during horse stance, we constantly have to be reminding ourselves just to relax the body. And at first, we may have to do it literally 2 or 3 times a minute, but eventually it'll be once a minute and then twice a minute. And then we'll remember to kind of get back in that phase. So we're trying to create new habits. So we have to align our posture first and then keep reminding ourselves to relax. I was talking about some of the great teachers that I've had, and their messages and their instructions were always very simple. Just sometimes we'd touch an area, touch the neck and say, relax, touch the shoulder, relax, touch the head to say, relax your mind. So their relaxation and reminding ourselves to relax over and over is going to be what can really help. And then that and posture and building strength. Okay. So I think I should probably stop there because we've went way long. I thought we were going to be here 20 minutes, but your enthusiasm is contagious. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and building. 30,000 subscribers is really not that big in the YouTube world, but I really try to think about, these are actually you're all real people. Everybody who's click that little subscribe button or subscribe to our newsletter, and like, these are real people. And when I think about all those people in a space, I think it's amazing, it's inspiring. And what I really like about the qigong practice, and especially the way we're sharing these practices together, is that we're helping ourselves. We do need help from other people. We do need help from our doctors and healthcare team. But if we can help ourselves, it's so empowering. And I know that sometimes you start feeling really, really good, and you feel grounded and happy and healthy, and you have the energy to do the things you want to do. And sometimes people are looking at you like, what are you taking? What are you doing? And you inspire people. So the better you feel, the more you can inspire others. And I highly encourage you to just keep up your practice and keep creating that energy and share it with the people around you. You don't have to tell people, hey, you should practice this. You just live your life, be a happy, healthy, vibrant person with vitality, and it's going to be so impactful. And the more people that can feel empowered and feel like, okay, I have the skills to mostly take care of myself, but I also know when I need to go and consult with the experts, the more that happens, the better. And that's what keeps me excited to create contents and videos and everything like that, and to create, especially what we're having and what we create in the community. And I warmly invite you to, if you want to dive into qigong practice, to come join the community, and you can even just for a few months and just explore some of the practices there. And the majority of them are not found on YouTube, and or all of them are not found on YouTube. And so, yeah, I would highly encourage you, if you like, and you can come try it out. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. And I'm just always looking for something that resonates. So I said that I was going to share a little story, a little bit of inspiration that a qigong inspiration from trees. So I can ask you, when a tree is growing, what does a tree need? So trees need soil, they need sunshine, they need water, and they need something else, one more thing. So they need the soil because that's the yin energy, that's the nutrients, the drawing in the water and the nutrients from the soil, and so it can build a strong uh, trunk and the leaves and the branches and everything. It needs those nutrients, and it needs the sun and the air and the warmth from the sun, the yang energy, draw that in. But it needs one other thing, and it just needs time. So it just needs simplicity of time, just time where it could be nurtured by that yin energy. It could be warmed up by that yang energy. Time just to grow. And if you move a tree, you plant a tree and then transplant it, and then transplant it, and move it, move it, move it, move it, then it never has that time to really grow and nurture itself and be nurtured. So this is what we as human beings need as well. We have a lot of information, we have a lot of excitement, we have a lot of energy, we have all the nutrients around us, but we need time. And we need time to stop and slow and let our mind calm down and settle so that we can see clearly. Uh, as much of the details that we talked about today, I really do think that Qigong practice is simple. It should be simple, approachable, real, authentic, enjoyable, and we just have to give it some time. Just practice. Oh, I'm in the flow state. Enjoy it. Enjoy it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just flow with it and let that feeling kind of radiate into your everyday life. Right. So that's a little bit of tree gong inspiration. Thank you all so much for again for sharing your excitement and all your wonderful comments. And I'm just seeing them here. And thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And perhaps we'll meet again like this in at the next milestone. I'm not sure what that is, but let me know either through underneath this video here. Do you prefer YouTube or Facebook? Do you like these live streams? And yeah, just let me know. And I like hearing from you because I'm here for you. And so as much as you can help me help you, then it's wonderful. Thank you all so much again, very much. And we will see you next time. And take a deep breath. Enjoy some time in nature. Enjoy some time alone with the people that you love, and let your chi blossom and grow. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. How do I end? Okay.